and welcome to a Fireside Chat on venture capital, impact investing, and ESG. In the context of private capital, the conversations with venture capital funds and entrepreneurs around the topic of impact investing has consistently been a topic in my part of the world for the last 2 years. So it's a real pleasure. I'm being joined right now by the two co-presidents of ISIF. And maybe I will ask Stephanie Dunn to kick us off and tell us a little bit about what is ISIF and a little bit about the mandate. Thanks very much, both of you, for making time.
So ISIF is the INSEAD Student Impact Fund, and it's a student club with over 75 MBA and MiM students based in both Fontainebleau and Singapore that work with social impact startups and invest in them to help build a more sustainable future. So we're structured in a similar way to an impact VC and are really comprised of 5 teams. So we have a deal sourcing group, due diligence, fundraising, impact assessment, and portfolio management to support our startups through the full journey.
Okay, thanks very much. DK, tell us a little bit about your role as a co-president and what your role is in the context of ISIF.
Well, thank you for having us, Claudia. And yeah, I'm DK. I'm also co-president of ISIF. My background is in global health, and I worked for a nonprofit drug development organization before joining the INSEAD. And I'm quite interested in expanding access to healthcare through impact investing, and that's why I joined ISIF. So at ISIF, along with Stephanie, we work with all the teams that she just mentioned, and we also try to focus on partnerships as well. So are we working with new organizations or new entities to figure out how to lead to different investments, or are we also looking into new events to train our students? So those are things that we're working on together as co-presidents.
Okay, very good. And you have a partnership with Loyal VC, which is a global seed investment fund with founding partners based in Canada, but with a global mandate. Tell us a little bit about your partnership with them and how this has looked, especially for you too, as well as your experience.
Absolutely. So as you mentioned, Loyal VC is a global venture capital firm, and it's actually also co-founded by INSEAD alums. So we have a long history together with them, and they have joined us in our partnerships ever since the beginning of the INSEAD Student Impact Fund. So the unique partnership that we have actually allows us to mirror what a typical VC structure looks like. And we work on every aspect of the team. So whether it's sourcing deals, conducting due diligence, working with the portfolio companies and doing impact assessments, all of these teams that we work on is a partnership with Loyal VC. And this actually gives INSEAD students who are part of the club an opportunity to look into real life work and also provide funding opportunities for INSEAD alumni-led ventures, because we invest specifically in ventures led by INSEAD alumni. So furthermore, if we were to look a little more into it, we conduct the rigorous impact assessment framework through the framework that we developed to properly conduct due diligence and see properly how impact is generated from these startups. So I think the unique partnership is very helpful for both sides, and we're trying to see how they expand it through the wider INSEAD community.
Okay, so just to put this into context, you both are right now in our MBA program. You both will be graduating in a few weeks, and you are working with Loyal VC as co-presidents of the Impact Fund at INSEAD, the Impact Student Club at INSEAD, during your classes. So this is something that is ongoing in parallel to your classes, and it's structured a little bit almost like an ongoing internship. Is that a fair comment to describe it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's something that a lot of us treat as an informal internship, because it really does provide hands-on experience, which I think is a little bit unique compared to how we maybe structure other student clubs and entities.
Yeah, very much so. It sounds like it's pretty involved as well. But maybe, Stephanie, tell us a little bit about how startups interact with ISIF, and in turn, then what this means for the interaction with Loyal VC as well.
Absolutely. So we really partner with startups sort of through 3 different channels. So the first being sort of during deal sourcing for the initial investments. The second with the due diligence team for follow-on and larger investments. And then thirdly with that portfolio management group to help them with, performance improvement opportunities. So to walk you through the process a little bit, what happens is first startups enter our funnel directly through the efforts of the deal sourcing team or potentially through Loyal themselves. Then afterwards, the deal sourcing group in partnership with the impact assessment team will conduct an initial screening for that first small investment and prepare an investment memo for each company. So typically we put forward 3 companies per month to the investment committee, which is comprised of a combination of ISIF leadership, our advisors, as well as representatives from Loyal VC. So through that process, I think over the last couple of years since inception, we've had 15 companies successfully selected, and this has led to more than 150K in investment. So then following that period, if a company is in the portfolio is successful in their application for a follow-on investment, they'll work with the due diligence team for a much larger pool. So typically a minimum of 200K for the follow-on investments. And then the due diligence team and impact assessment will provide a joint assessment on whether to go through to the second round with a startup. And then the third thing that we touched on was how we partner with them with the portfolio management team. And this is really structured in a similar way to a consulting group. So we help them with projects across all industries and functions. And this can be anything from, helping them develop KPIs in the logistics industry to structuring a marketing strategy. So, overall, I think our goal has really been to help startups to grow as quickly as possible, and then also help them put their best foot forward in the investment process with Loyal.
Okay, very good. You mentioned at one point connection with INSEAD alumni and with our alumni associations. So, DK, could you maybe give us a bit more color on that? What's the connection with INSEAD alumni in the context of ISIF and the fund you're working with?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I'll definitely say that INSEAD alumni and the connection that we have is critical to the organizational structure that we have and also how we're trying to grow as a student club. So the key connection starts with Loyal VC, as I said, because they are an alumni-founded organization and they're extremely well connected among the alumni base that we have currently at INSEAD. And that alumni base extends globally. And as part of our investment criteria, as we mentioned, we only review the companies that are led by INSEAD alum. So we keep in touch with them as well, like sharing posts on alumni networks online and also reaching out to them directly to see if there are any companies that requires investment and also would like to go through the ISIF due diligence process and deal sourcing process. And for the student side, we actually also engage with them as part of the club. And for ISIF members, we hold training sessions to expand their knowledge base. And we also try to connect them with VCs and other investing firms that have INSEAD alumni so we could actually create a larger network. And as we grow, we actually hope to have a stronger connection with past alumni to start more conversations around impact investing and social impact measures because there's a strong INSEAD alumni base in those sectors, and we hope to continue growing the conversations.
Okay, very good. Can you give us some examples, for example, of companies that ISIF has reviewed and maybe some of the challenges? You're a reasonably young student club, so you launched about 3 years ago. So surely you've had some challenges that needed to be overcome, but maybe some examples on the companies that you've reviewed would be useful.
Absolutely. And so some of the startups that we reviewed actually cover vast geography and different cultures, inherently because they're focused on INSEAD-led ventures, and INSEAD alumni are really spread globally. So we reviewed companies that work in like mental health applications in developing countries, like robotics education company focused on youth, like housing rental agency, and the list goes on and on. And there's not really sector specific because we try to have a sector agnostic investment approach as well. And one of the challenges that we actually face is that when we're comparing startups with different industries, it's kind of hard to compare the revenue side or like other things like one on one because they're very different industry. But moreover, the bigger challenge is how do we compare the impact? So we cannot just say carbon emission that's reduced from one company that's focused on sustainability. It's the same thing as the amount of time that a person spends on mental health training, for example. But even with that, what we're trying to do is create an impact assessment framework that puts dollar value into those impacts. So we could actually compare the quantitative aspect of that impact. So although it's a challenge, we have been trying to mitigate it, and the impact assessment team has done a great job working on that.
Yeah, measurement of impact remains a challenge for across the industry, not just in the VC space. Stephanie, tell us a bit about your experience of dipping a toe into the VC ecosystem. What was it like to have a little bit of an experience on the venture side?
Yeah, absolutely. So really being a close partner with Loyal has been an incredible experience for us and all of the teams within ISIF. It's really been sort of the cornerstone of our ability to provide hands-on experience to students. I think, one thing that's unique about the INSEAD MBA is that it is only a one-year program, which means that many students don't have the opportunity to do an internship and explore the VC space. So ISIF has really been an incredible opportunity for us to be able to dip our toes in, as you mentioned. I think in addition to that, being part of the VC ecosystem has really pushed our teams and members outside of their comfort zone to quickly learn about a new industry, like DK mentioned, where, industry agnostic, or even, posting publicly to try and find new startups and new deals that fit our investment criteria, since we are so focused on, that INSEAD alum connection and startups that have drive an impact. I would say it also means dealing with the challenges of VC. If you move too slowly in VC, you may lose the interest of a great candidate sort of startup, which is something that's hard to manage with our studies. And on the flip side as well, we sometimes find, after spending a lot of time with a startup, that it's not the right investment. So that's definitely something that I think has been a good experience and learning opportunity for all of the teams. So one thing that I think excites me as a result of this is that, these experiences have led to many of our members pursuing roles in VC and impact after graduation. And so we're definitely looking forward to, I think, expanding our connections within the VC ecosystem to be able to partner with more funds in the future to really help expand that talent pipeline, and also just learn about different, investment theses so we can continually evolve ISIF and drive that impact.
Okay, very interesting. So let's see whether we will be able to find more funds willing to engage if there's such a great demand from the students, both on the MBA and the MIM side. DK, what's the message you would like to bring across, basically, from your experience in the space?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think as Stephanie mentioned, it's a very much of a hands-on experience, and I think as INSEAD students and also like business professionals, we hear a lot about ESG topics, right? So whether it's generally social impact or about some agreements that we have internationally trying to reduce the carbon emissions. But I think it's always hard to grasp what they really mean because every company has different standards and every government has different standards. So I think we are the ones who really need to absorb what that means and like kind of interpret it on our own. So we think, as ISIF co-presidents and also like as INSEAD MBA, we think it's the best way to work on social impact and understand it is talking to the founders who work in that field, actually. So the ones who were leading to the emission decreases, who are leading to better health for like remote areas, for example, and who produce the actual impact that we can measure. And I think by doing that, we are able to not only just understand the field, but become members of the field, because it is going to be a big topic moving on. So I hope that people could, not just in INSEAD, but overall, could also be part of that process and try to talk to the people working in the field and understand more about social impact in ESG.
Yeah, very good point. And what are you most excited about in the impact investment space or in the student impact space, Stephanie?
From a student impact fund perspective, we're really excited about being able to grow the team further. Each year we actually have hundreds of applications, and it's a competitive selection process with our students. And so we want to be able to continue to expand and take on more students. And I think in only 2 years, we've gone from a few people that were passionate about the impact space to 75. And we are in the process of adding new roles and capabilities around sort of partnerships, as DK touched on, as well as career, and making sure that we can set our students up for success in the long term. So, our goal, I think, long term is really to be able to partner with more institutions and the alumni across the four corners of the globe where we see our INSEAD teams. And then maybe moving to the second part of your question around, from an industry perspective, for us, I think the number one thing we're looking forward to is, learning more from the leading minds on the best approach and rigor to impact assessment. I think you mentioned, Claudia, this is something that's, constantly changing within the industry. And it's really important to us that our investments are both strong financial performers as well as, positive contributors across our ESG goals. So we really see this as a key part of something we're looking forward to seeing sort of shake out across the industry, and being able to incorporate that within ISIF, and being able to really drive home that INSEAD mission around being a force for good.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. And I'm not surprised you are inundated with more and more applications. I see the same questions, engagement, and interest from students in class as well in the impact and sustainability space. So thank you very much, both of you. It was a real pleasure, DK and Stephanie, to have you here. The co-presidents of the INSEAD Student Impact Fund. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much,
Claudia.
Thank you.